You know how everyone keeps talking about the Internet of Things? Like, it's going to change everything.
Yeah.
You were curious about all the buzz around IoT and how it's impacting supply chain management. So we dove into a ton of research to uncover some of those aha moments you love.
Right.
And we're going really deep on this one.
Okay.
You ready?
Absolutely. It's a fascinating area,
Yeah.
especially when you think about how it's transforming the very foundation
Right.
of how goods move around the world.
Yeah.
Forget that image of a static, linear chain.
Right.
We're talking about dynamic, interconnected networks,
Okay.
all thanks to IoT.
Dynamic networks.
Yeah.
Okay, so someone like you who's already familiar with the basics, let's not dwell on the fridge ordering milk examples.
Right.
How about we just jump right into the evolution of IoT?
Sure.
Like, how did we get from simple sensors to this, like, game changer in supply chains?
It's been a steady climb for sure.
Yeah.
Think back to early IoT applications, primarily monitoring tasks.
Right.
Like using sensors to check the temperature in a storage facility.
Right.
It's come a long way since those days.
I bet.
As sensor technology advanced, and we learned how to analyze data in smarter ways,
Right.
the potential of IoT just exploded.
So it's not just about the sensors themselves.
Right.
But how we're using the data
That's accurate.
you're spitting out.
Yeah.
That makes sense. But let's get specific. How is IoT changing the game for supply chain management?
One of the biggest shifts is the level of transparency and control it offers.
Okay.
Imagine having complete real-time visibility into every single item as it moves through the supply chain.
Okay.
Not just knowing where it is, but its condition, the surrounding environment, even potential delays.
Wow.
It's like having a live feed of your entire operation.
Okay. I'm already seeing the appeal here.
Yeah.
No more guessing games.
Right.
No more frantic phone calls trying to track down a missing shipment.
Exactly.
But how does that actually translate into tangible benefits?
Sure.
Give me an example, something that'll really hit home for our listener.
Imagine you're managing a shipment of, say, pharmaceuticals that need to be kept at a specific temperature. In the past, you'd basically just cross your fingers and hope for the best.
Oh, yeah.
But with IoT, you have sensors constantly monitoring the temperature inside the truck.
Right.
If it deviates even slightly from the required range, you get an immediate alert, allowing you to take action before any damage is done.
So no more arriving at the destination only to discover the whole shipment is spoiled.
Exactly.
Because the refrigeration unit malfunctioned.
Yeah.
That's a game changer, for sure.
It minimizes risk, reduces waste,
Right.
and ultimately saves businesses a lot of money.
Makes sense.
And it's not just about preventing disasters.
Right.
It's about optimizing the entire process.
Okay, let's dive into that.
Okay.
What other areas of the supply chain are being impacted?
Inventory management is another area where IoT is making waves. Think about those massive warehouses stacked floor to ceiling with goods.
Right.
Keeping track of everything manually is a nightmare, prone to errors and delays.
I've seen those warehouses.
Yeah.
They're like giant labyrinths.
Right.
It's mind-boggling to think about trying to manage all that manually.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But with IoT, you can replace those manual stock checks with a system of smart sensors and RFID tags that track every single item in real time with pinpoint accuracy.
So no more sending employees out with clipboards to count boxes for hours on end.
That's becoming a relic of the past.
Wow.
And it's not just about counting boxes.
Right.
It's about having a constantly updated live view of your inventory.
Okay.
You know exactly what you have, where it is, and when you need to reorder.
Okay.
No more stockouts, no more overstocking.
Right.
Just a perfectly optimized inventory flowing smoothly through the system.
It sounds almost too good to be true. Like, is this actually happening right now?
Yeah.
Or is this some futuristic vision?
This is happening right now.
Wow.
And it's only going to become more prevalent as the technology matures and becomes more accessible to businesses of all sizes.
Okay. I'm starting to get a sense of the scale of this.
Yeah.
But let's not forget about the people involved in all of this. How does this technology impact the workers on the ground?
That's an important point.
Yeah.
We need to make sure technology serves people, not the other way around.
Exactly.
And in the case of IoT, it has the potential to significantly improve the lives of supply chain workers.
Okay, tell me more about that.
Sure.
How is it making their jobs better?
For starters, it takes over a lot of the tedious, repetitive tasks.
Okay.
It used to consume so much time and energy.
Right.
Things like manual data entry, routine equipment checks,
Right.
even scheduling maintenance. All of that can be automated with IoT.
So instead of spending hours filling out paperwork, they can focus on more strategic problem-solving tasks.
Exactly. And that's not just good for business, it's good for worker morale and job satisfaction.
Right.
But it goes beyond that.
Yeah.
IoT can also contribute to a safer work environment.
Safer? How so?
Think about those sensors we were talking about earlier.
Okay.
They can be placed on machinery to monitor performance and predict potential failures.
So instead of waiting for a machine to break down,
Right.
potentially causing an accident,
Yeah.
you can proactively address any issues before they become problems.
Exactly.
Good idea.
It's about moving from a reactive approach to a preventative one,
Right.
which ultimately leads to a safer and more efficient workplace.
Okay, this is painting a very positive picture of IoT in the supply chain, but I'm sure there are challenges as well, right?
You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Like any new technology, there are hurdles to overcome.
Of course.
And potential downsides to consider.
Well, let's not shy away from the tough stuff.
Okay.
What are some of the concerns we should be thinking about? All right, let's get into those challenges.
Okay.
But first, we were talking about how IoT is changing the game for workers.
Right.
Can you give us a real-world scenario?
Sure.
Something that illustrates this shift.
Let's go back to the warehouse.
Okay.
Imagine you're a worker tasked with picking and packing orders.
Okay.
Traditionally, you'd be running around deciphering handwritten notes, searching for items on towering shelves. It's physically demanding and prone to errors.
Right.
Now, picture this.
Okay.
You have a smart device that tells you exactly where to go, what to pick, even the best route to optimize your time.
So instead of feeling like a scavenger hunt, it's more like a guided tour through the warehouse.
Precisely.
Yeah.
It streamlines the entire process, making it more efficient and less prone to mistakes. Plus, it frees up workers to focus on tasks that require human ingenuity.
Okay.
Like handling complex orders or troubleshooting issues.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
It's about using technology to enhance human capabilities. Not replace them.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've talked about warehouses, but what about the actual transportation of goods?
Yeah.
How is IoT changing that aspect of the supply chain?
Transportation and logistics are being revolutionized by IoT.
Okay.
We already touched on optimized delivery routes, but let's go deeper.
Okay.
Imagine a fleet of trucks equipped with sensors that monitor everything from engine performance to tire pressure to driver behavior.
Okay, so it's not just about knowing where the truck is, but how it's performing.
Yeah.
And even how the driver's handling it.
Exactly. All of this data feeds into a central system that can identify potential issues before they become major problems.
Okay.
Think about it. A tire that's losing pressure could lead to a blowout on the highway.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
But with IoT, you get an alert in advance, allowing you to schedule maintenance and prevent a potentially dangerous situation.
That's not just about efficiency.
Right.
It's about safety, too.
Yeah.
I like that.
Absolutely. And it goes beyond preventative maintenance.
Okay.
Think about cargo security.
Right.
We've all heard stories about shipments being tampered with or stolen in transit.
Yeah, it's a nightmare scenario for any business.
With IoT, you can have sensors that detect any unauthorized access to the cargo area, triggering an immediate alert to the authorities.
That makes sense.
It adds an extra layer of security and peace of mind.
Okay, so we've got real-time tracking, enhanced security, optimized routes, preventative maintenance.
Right.
It's like IoT is creating an invisible safety net around the entire transportation process.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
And it's not just about trucks and warehouses.
Okay.
IoT is also changing the game for shipping and delivery.
Right.
Particularly for sensitive goods like pharmaceuticals or perishable food items.
Okay, now that's an area I'm particularly interested in.
Yeah.
I've always been fascinated by the logistics of keeping things fresh and safe. During transport.
It's a complex challenge, especially when you're dealing with products that require strict temperature control or have a limited shelf life.
So how is IoT tackling this?
Imagine this. You're shipping a container of fresh produce across the country. Inside the container,
Okay.
you have sensors that constantly monitor the temperature, humidity, and even the levels of ethylene gas, which can accelerate ripening.
Okay, so you're basically creating a microclimate inside the container tailored to the specific needs of the produce.
Exactly. And all of that data is being transmitted in real time to a central control center. If any of the parameters deviate from the optimal range, an alert is triggered, and adjustments can be made remotely.
So if the temperature starts to rise, you can adjust the refrigeration unit remotely without having to stop the truck and potentially compromise the entire shipment.
Precisely.
Wow.
It's about maintaining the quality and integrity of the goods throughout the entire journey from farm to table.
This is incredible.
Yeah.
It's like having a virtual guardian angel watching over your shipment every step of the way.
And it's not just about protecting the products. It's also about reducing waste. Think about all the food that gets spoiled during transport due to improper handling or temperature fluctuations.
It's a huge problem, both economically and environmentally.
Exactly. IoT has the potential to significantly reduce that waste by providing the data and insights needed to optimize every stage of the process.
I'm sold on the benefits of IoT in the supply chain.
Good.
But let's be real. All of this technology must come at a cost. How do businesses justify the investment?
You're right. It's not a small undertaking. Implementing a comprehensive IoT solution requires an upfront investment in hardware, software, and expertise.
That's not something you can just slap together overnight?
Definitely not. It requires careful planning, integration with existing systems, and a clear understanding of the business goals you're trying to achieve.
So it's not just about buying a bunch of sensors and hoping for the best. It's about having a strategic vision and a solid implementation plan.
Exactly. And it's also important to remember that the return on investment for IoT can be significant by optimizing operation, reducing waste, improving customer satisfaction, and mitigating risks. Businesses can often recoup their initial investment and then some.
So it's not just a cost. It's an investment in the future of the business.
Exactly.
But let's be honest. There must be some companies out there that are hesitant to jump on the IoT bandwagon.
Sure.
What are some of the reasons for that reluctance?
One of the biggest concerns, and rightfully so, is data security. When you have all these devices connected to the internet, it creates potential vulnerabilities that hackers could exploit.
Yeah, I can see how that would be a major worry.
It's
like leaving all the doors unlocked in your virtual warehouse.
It's a valid concern. But it's important to remember that cybersecurity is an ongoing process, not a one-time fix. Companies need to invest in robust security measures like encryption and multi-factor authentication to protect their data and their systems.
So it's about building a digital fortress around all that valuable information.
Exactly. And it's not just about protecting the data itself. It's about securing the entire ecosystem from the sensors and devices to the networks and platforms that connect them.
So data security is a big one. What other challenges are companies facing?
Another hurdle is integrating IoT solutions with existing legacy systems. Many businesses are still relying on older software and hardware that wasn't designed with IoT in mind.
So it's like trying to fit a square peg into a round hole.
That's a good analogy. It can be a complex and time-consuming process requiring specialized expertise and careful planning.
So what's the solution?
Well,
rip out all the old systems and start from scratch.
That's rarely feasible or cost-effective. A more practical approach is to implement IoT in phases, gradually integrating new technologies with existing systems as needed.
So more strategic approach. Taking it one step at a time. That makes sense. But even with a phased rollout, the scale of this seems daunting. Are there any tools or platforms that can help businesses manage the complexity of IoT?
Absolutely. There's a whole ecosystem of IoT platforms and software solutions that provide the tools and infrastructure needed to collect, analyze, and manage data from a vast network of connected devices.
So it's like having a central control panel.
Right.
Where you can monitor and manage your entire IoT operation.
Exactly.
Okay.
These platforms provide features like data visualization, real-time alerts, predictive analytics, and even remote device management.
Okay, that's starting to sound a bit less overwhelming.
Good.
But let's not forget about the human element.
Right.
We talked about how IoT can improve the lives of workers. But are there any potential downsides to consider?
You're right. It's important to acknowledge the potential impact on the workforce.
Right.
One concern is the fear of job displacement.
As automation becomes more prevalent,
some workers may worry that their skills will become obsolete.
It's a valid concern,
Yes.
especially in industries where manual labor is being replaced by machines.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But it's important to remember that technology often creates new jobs,
Okay.
even as it displaces old ones.
Right.
The key is to adapt and acquire the skills needed to thrive in this evolving landscape.
So it's about embracing lifelong learning and staying ahead of the curve.
Exactly. The jobs of the future will require a different set of skills.
Okay.
Ones that emphasize critical thinking, problem solving, and adaptability.
Okay. That's reassuring.
Yeah.
But even if new jobs are created, there's still the issue of retraining and upskilling the existing workforce.
Exactly.
That's a significant challenge both for businesses and for individuals.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
It's not something that can happen overnight.
It requires investment in training programs.
Okay.
Collaboration between industry and educational institutions, and a willingness on the part of workers to embrace new skills.
So it's a shared responsibility with everyone playing a role and ensuring a smooth transition to this new era of technology.
Exactly. It's a journey we need to embark on together, recognizing both the challenges and the opportunities that lie ahead.
Well, this has been a fascinating deep dive into the world of IoT and supply chain management. We've covered a lot of ground.
We have.
From the transformative benefits to the potential challenges.
Yeah.
I think it's safe to say that this technology is here to stay.
Definitely.
And will continue to shape the future of how goods move around the world.
I completely agree.
Yeah.
It's an exciting time to be involved in this space.
Yeah.
And I'm eager to see what innovations emerge in the years to come.
Okay, before we wrap things up, is there anything else you want to highlight? Any key takeaways you want our listener to walk away with?
I think the biggest takeaway is that IoT isn't just some futuristic concept.
Right.
It's already transforming supply chains in profound ways.
Yeah.
And the pace of innovation is only accelerating.
So it's not about IoT businesses should embrace IoT, but how they can best leverage it to their advantage.
Exactly. Companies that are proactive and strategic in their approach to IoT will be the ones that thrive in this new landscape.
Okay.
It's about seeing the bigger picture, understanding the interconnectedness of the entire supply chain.
You know, when we started this deep dive, I have to admit I was a bit skeptical. It all sounded a bit too good to be true.
Yeah.
But now seeing how these technologies are coming together, it's pretty mind-blowing.
It is. And we've only scratched the surface.
Right.
Think about the potential of combining IoT with other emerging technologies. Like artificial intelligence and blockchain. We're talking at a level of optimization, transparency, and security.
Wow.
That was unimaginable just a few years ago.
Okay, now you're getting me really excited.
Yeah.
But let's bring it back down to earth for a second. Okay, we talked about data security and system integration as challenges.
Right.
Are there any other hurdles that businesses need to be aware of?
One thing to keep in mind is the issue of scalability. As your business grows and your supply chain becomes more complex, you need an IoT solution that can grow with you.
So you don't want to get stuck with a system that can't handle the increasing volume of data or the expanding network of devices.
Exactly. You need a platform that's flexible, adaptable, and can scale to meet your evolving needs.
Okay.
And of course, there's the human element. We talked about the potential for job displacement.
Right.
But there's also the need for upskilling and training existing employees to work alongside these new technologies.
Right, because even with the best technology in the world, you still need skilled people to manage it, interpret the data, and make informed decisions.
That's key.
It's a partnership, not a replacement.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Investing in your workforce is just as important as investing in the technology itself.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground today.
We have.
We've explored the transformative potential of IoT, the challenges of implementation, and the importance of a strategic approach.
Right.
But before we wrap things up, I want to bring it back to our listener.
Sure.
You've been listening intently to all of this, absorbing this wealth of information.
Yeah.
What's going through your mind right now?
Right.
What are your biggest takeaways?
I'd be curious to hear your thoughts as well.
Yeah.
What aspects of IoT in the supply chain resonate most with you?
Right.
Are there any particular applications that you find particularly intriguing or perhaps concerning?
Yeah, we've thrown a lot of information at you.
We have.
But we also want to hear your perspective.
Yeah.
After all this deep dive was tailored specifically for you.
Right.
Based on your interests and the materials you shared with us.
We've talked about how IoT can optimize routes, track shipments, manage inventory, even ensure the quality of perishable goods.
Right.
But what does all this mean for you?
Yeah.
How do you see this technology shaping your own work or your personal life?
Maybe you're already seeing the impact of IoT in your industry.
Yeah.
Or perhaps you're just starting to explore the possibilities, whatever stage you're at.
Right.
We hope this deep dive has given you a clearer understanding of the power and potential of IoT in supply chain management.
And we encourage you to continue exploring this topic.
Yeah.
The world of IoT is constantly evolving.
Right.
With new innovations emerging all the time.
Yeah.
Staying informed and engaged is key to navigating this exciting new landscape.
Well, on that note, it's time to wrap up our deep dive into the fascinating world of IoT and supply chain management.
Great.
Thanks for joining us on this journey of discovery.
Yeah, thanks for listening.
We hope you've gained some valuable insights, sparked some new ideas, and perhaps even felt a few of those aha moments we promised.
Right.
Until next time, keep learning, keep exploring, and keep questioning